seeking protection. What the FBI is saying about the attacks and threats against pro-life pregnancy centers. Abortion on the rise. Analyzing new trends in the fight to protect the unborn. The Church in Africa. Learn more about the Holy Father's message to missionaries from the continent. And burden of inflation. Lawmakers on Capitol Hill debate solutions while one Catholic charity faces growing needs. On EWTN News Nightly for Friday, June 17, 2022. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. I'm Tracy Sable. A new report says the FBI is investigating attacks and threats against pro-life pregnancy centers across the country. The Washington Examiner says the FBI is investigating the threats and attacks against pregnancy resource centers and faith-based organizations across the country, and it is asking for tips from the public. In the past 2 months, pro-life pregnancy centers have been vandalized in more than a dozen states and Washington, D.C. And for more details on this story, visit our partners at CatholicNewsAgency.com. The FBI and other federal agencies are joining the investigation into a church shooting near Birmingham, Alabama. A 71-year-old man was arrested and is accused of killing 3 people at St. Stephen's Episcopal Church. Police say the suspect occasionally attended services at the church. It was not immediately clear what sparked the shooting during a potluck dinner. With inflation rising and gas prices at record highs, Republicans blame unchecked spending by Democrats and failed policies of the Biden administration. Democrats answer, go after big oil companies. Capitol Hill correspondent Erik Rosales has that story.
Americans are spending more on food and gas and less on other items, raising fears among some economists that we're headed for a recession as soon as next year. Democrats plan to lower gas prices by going after oil and gas companies.
This is a strong message to the big oil companies that when you milk the tax code for expenses, for example, like stock buybacks, you're exploiting the well-being of Americans.
Senator Ron Wyden chairs the Finance Committee. His plan would impose a 21% surtax on oil company profits of more than $1 billion. The top oil and gas companies made a combined $237 billion in profits last year.
They continue to gouge us at the pump. So we would love to have Republican colleagues working with us on that rather than accepting oil and gas money to fund their campaigns.
Republicans are not likely to support a windfall profits tax. Instead, they say Democrats have to curb their appetite for printing money.
The Democrats' big spending, big government agenda has resulted in a lot of pain for working families. President Biden and Democrats really want to make life better for ordinary Americans. They will decisively reject any further spending sprees.
We can become.
Other Republicans say that they favor a more disciplined plan to get spending under control.
We have to have a budget. It has to be a balanced budget. We need to reduce taxes. More money needs to be in your pocket. If you put more money in your pocket, you're going to thrive and you're going to buy more things and build our economy. We've got to reduce the permitting time, reduce the regulatory environment.
Democrats tell me that they have more cost-cutting bills coming up, like reviving the Build Back Better plan, which failed in the Senate last year. At the Capitol, Erik Rosales, EWTN News Nightly.
President Joe Biden tells other world leaders that Russia's invasion of Ukraine is creating a global energy crisis.
And with Russia's war driving up inflation worldwide, threatening vulnerable countries with severe food shortages, we have to work together to mitigate the immediate fallout of this crisis.
President Biden spoke virtually to the major economies forum on energy and climate. He said that he is working to lower gasoline prices while also shifting away from fossil fuels. The president was later asked about reports of 3 Americans missing in Ukraine. He said that he has been briefed, and then he repeatedly warned that Americans should not be going to Ukraine. Britain has approved the extradition of WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange to the U.S. to face spying charges. American prosecutors claim that he put U.S. military lives at risk in 2010. They are pursuing criminal charges in connection with a WikiLeaks publication of classified information. The extradition order is expected to face legal challenges. Coming up, abortion trends. What new factors are undermining the fight to protect life? Plus, a closer look at life for the faithful in Africa. The Bishop of Worcester, Massachusetts, has revoked the Catholic status of a local middle school. Bishop Robert McManus says the school refused to stop flying flags, which he said send mixed, confusing, and scandalous messages about moral and social issues. Well, the only pro-life Democrat in the U.S. House of Representatives is fighting to keep his seat. Congressman Henry Cuellar from Texas is awaiting the results of a recount. The primary election initially showed that he won the race against Jessica Cisneros by 187 votes. Iowa's Supreme Court has cleared the way for lawmakers there to severely limit or even ban abortion. In a ruling today, the High Court says abortion is not among the fundamental rights granted by the state's constitution. If Roe v. Wade is overturned, lawmakers could ban abortion without needing an amendment to the state constitution. South Dakota's governor says the final abortion clinic in the state has closed. In a post on social media, Republican Kristi Noem said in part, quote, "We have prayed for this day and now it is here." The Washington Examiner reports South Dakota is the second state to eliminate all of its abortion clinics. Oklahoma did so earlier this year. That said, abortions are on the rise in the United States. New findings from the Guttmacher Institute show abortions increased by 8% between 2017 and 2020, following a decade of declining abortion numbers. And joining us now to discuss is Michael New, research associate at the Catholic University of America and associate scholar at the Charlotte Lozier Institute. Michael, always good to be with you. Let's break down these findings. The data showed that about 1 in 5 pregnancies ended in abortion in 2020. Talk to us more about this disturbing trend.
Yes, the news we got is not good. That according to Guttmacher, the abortion rate increased by about 7% between 2017 and 2020. And there's a couple important factors. One is there's been a big increase in chemical abortions. The percentage of all abortions that are chemical abortions has risen to 54%. And at various points in 2020, women were able to obtain chemical abortions without an in-person medical exam. So that, I think, pushed abortion numbers up. Another problem that we have is that in some liberal states, they're making abortion policy more permissive. Since 2017, Illinois and Maine both started covering elective abortion through their respective state Medicaid programs, and that increased the numbers as well.
Yeah, and also, what states, I'm curious, or regions, Michael, saw the biggest increase in abortions from this data?
One of the states was Illinois. They saw their abortion rate go up by 28%. And the reason for that is because their state Medicaid program started covering elective abortions. We know that from the research that once abortions are free or subsidized, abortion numbers go up. And part of that increase is also that some women from other states were coming into Illinois to obtain abortions. Maine saw their abortion numbers go up by 15%. And again, a lot of that was due to the fact that their state Medicaid program started covering abortion procedures.
And as far as regions, maybe with the lowest numbers, what can you tell us about that?
Well, in general, we do see that fairly conservative states have lower abortion rates than more quote-unquote liberal states. So abortion rates tend to be lower in the Deep South. And an important reason for that is because a higher percentage of unintended pregnancies are carried to term. Southern states tend to have more pro-life laws, greater pro-life sentiment, and more pregnancy help centers. And that all helps build a culture of life and keep abortion numbers relatively low.
Yeah, and also, as you know, we are awaiting the Supreme Court's final opinion on Dobbs. Of course, that case that could overturn Roe versus Wade. Can you talk to us about the data in the context of life after Roe that was in this report?
Well, there's a couple of things to note. Even though abortion numbers went up slightly between 2017 and 2020, we've made impressive long-term progress getting abortion numbers down. Between 1980 and 2020, the U.S. abortion rate's fallen by more than half. So a favorable decision in Dobbs will let us kind of build on those gains and keep building a culture of life. But it's important to know that in like a lot of blue states, they are going to pursue policies to expand abortion, make the laws more permissive, and pro-lifers need to push back. So the Dobbs decision is going to create a lot of opportunities for us, but also challenges as well.
Yeah, Michael, before I let you go, as we reported earlier, South Dakota no longer has any operating abortion clinics, making it the second state in the nation to stop the killing of unborn babies. I'd like to get your reaction to that. And also, do you expect more states to follow suit?
First of all, I think it's great news out of South Dakota. Planned Parenthood realizes that the Dobbs decision will be handed down soon. They realize there's a good chance that Roe v. Wade will be overturned, as South Dakota does have a trigger law and other good protective laws in place that would protect preborn children should Roe v. Wade be overturned. And I think other states will follow suit. My understanding in Oklahoma, the abortion facilities are closed and not doing abortions. And I think other conservative states will pass good protective laws. See more and more states protecting the preborn and building a culture of life.
Well, Michael, thank you so much for your time today. Always great to get your insights.
Thanks for having me.
Government soldiers have ransacked and burned a Catholic church in a village in eastern Myanmar, also known as Burma. The destruction took place during this past week. The village saw heavy fighting between government troops and rebel forces who posted videos of the damage to St. Matthew Catholic Church. A military junta has ruled the country since February of last year. Well, Pope Francis has accepted a request by a Belgian bishop not to be made a cardinal. Bishop Lucas Van Louis issued a statement saying that he did not want his elevation to create new hurt for victims of past clerical abuse. 20 other churchmen will become cardinals in August. Pope Francis says that he will celebrate Mass in Rome next month with a community from the Democratic Republic of Congo. The Holy Father made that announcement earlier this week in a meeting with members of the Missionaries of Africa. Pope Francis also told the group that their work is important because in an ever-changing world, they are able to lead people back to Christ and the gospel. Joining us now from Rome is Father Stanley Lubungo, Superior General of the Missionaries of Africa. Father, thank you so much for your time today. Can you tell us more about the meaning of this meeting with the Pope, and what did the Holy Father share with you?
Yeah, our institute is having what we call the General Chapter. This is something that comes every 6 years, where we not only re-elect the leadership of our Missionary Institute, but we look at the past also and plan for the future to see where our mission is going. And this is so significant that we take it to the Pope to tell him what we've been doing and what we intend to do. So it was in this context that we went to meet the Holy Father last Monday.
And Father, can you tell us a little bit more about your mission and also any upcoming projects that you have?
Yes, we are working in 23 African countries, starting from North Africa, in Algeria and Tunisia. In Algeria, actually, where our Missionary Institute was born. So we are into interreligious dialogue, especially with Muslims. And we do that also in other parts of Africa where Islam is prevalent, like in Mali, and then in Burkina Faso. We are also in Niger, but also we are in countries where Christianity is actually the majority. So we are very much involved, first of all, with interreligious dialogue, but also in other projects of primary evangelization in sub-Saharan Africa, where our confreres actually go to rural areas where they put up structures like schools and health centers and other projects that promote the development of the person simply. And what we try to do there is just to live our Christian faith and help the local populations in these different countries.
And Father, I understand, we know there's recently been a lot of persecution against Christians in Nigeria in particular. Can you talk to us about the daily life for the faithful in Africa? And are you able to help people in Nigeria?
In Nigeria, we have only 3 communities, and Nigeria is a big country. But where we are looking after Christian communities. And as I said, our confreres try to educate, to teach people about the necessity of dialogue. But we are also very aware that people are most of the time living under fear, because this phenomenon of terrorism, extremism is something that we cannot understand, So it's not an easy thing, because people, we keep telling them not to respond by violence, and in the whole, Christians are very understanding for that. They regret these sad events, and everyone prays that they do not reproduce themselves, but really this is something that we cannot understand. Where our confreres are in Nigeria, happily, if I might say so, they are not really affected, because this comes most of the time from the north of the country. We are more in the south. But we feel very affected, and we are united with the Nigerian church. This morning I actually sent a word of solidarity to the bishop of the diocese where the people were killed at Pentecost. But people are very practicing. People don't have fear actually to go for their worship, and unfortunately sad events like that do happen, and we can only regret.
Well, Father, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it, and thank you for all that you do. God bless you. Up next, meeting demand. A Catholic charity in one U.S. state responds to increased needs for food. As America faces record high inflation, more people are seeking assistance to feed themselves and their families. In fact, the Catholic Charities of West Tennessee says it has seen a significant increase in the amount of people who receive food support from their organization. And joining us now to discuss is Kelly Henderson, Executive Director of Catholic Charities of West Tennessee. Kelly, welcome back. Good to see you again. Let's talk a little bit more about this increase in need that you're seeing. Can you sort of give us maybe a comparison as to what it was like this time last year and right now?
Well, thank you, Tracy, and thank you for having me back. The increased demand in food has been a continuing challenge now since the beginning of the pandemic, but we've seen an acute spike just in the last few months. We are now tracking 80% increase in demand year over year. What that looks like for us is more food boxes for families, more sack lunches for people experiencing homelessness, and a growing trend as well in families with children, as well as seniors who need more support just to get to the end of the month.
And Kelly, how big of a role do you think inflation is playing in all of this?
We do survey our clients quite frequently, and just talking anecdotally in the drive-through food pantries, we operate 5 food pantries here in the greater Memphis area, drive-throughs, as well as multiple partners in multiple counties throughout West Tennessee. And a common theme now is I can't afford to buy my groceries. What used to fit in a buggy for my $50 now goes in a basket, and it just can't get to the end of the month. We are pricing our food as well. And it used to cost us this time last year about $10 a box to feed a family for a week. It's now up to $16 a box to feed a family for a week. So if we're seeing wholesale inflation, imagine what consumers are seeing at the checkout line.
Absolutely. And what would you say maybe is the biggest challenge right now for you all?
I think supply issues and demand are not aligned right now. We would love to find parity between the supply and demand that we have. We are seeing such an acute spike in need where we're having hundreds of people visit us every day. It's hard to keep the supply flowing because we are continuing to see some supply shortages in key items like canned proteins and some healthier vegetable options, and we're still seeing baby food shortages. But I'm pleased to say that with your help, last month we had overwhelming support of folks coming in with baby formula after this show aired. Matter of fact, 2 days after it aired, someone tapped me on the shoulder at Mass and said, "Meet me in the parking lot after church. I've got a trunk load of baby formula." I saw the interview. Thank you.
Oh, that is amazing. What a blessing, what a miracle. And thank you for sharing that with us. We're really happy about that. You know, and I'm curious maybe, Kelly, also, what about other donations besides baby formula that you received? Have you seen a change in maybe the amount of food that people are giving or maybe money that they're donating?
During the summer months, typically donations are lean for charitable organizations. People are on vacation, they're traveling, kids are out of school, there are many more distractions. So we just ask that people keep us top of mind, whether it's a financial donation, giving monthly to us or another local Catholic charities of your choice will help smooth that cash flow out during the summers. And also continue to do food drives. When you have your pool parties and when you have your kids' friends over for the summer, do a peanut butter and jelly drive. Do things that the kids can get involved in and let them be a part of the solution. And I promise they will have a good time in the process.
That is a great idea. As far as donations for food, as you mentioned, I mean, times are tight really for everybody right now. And I know a lot of people want to donate and they want to help. Are there any items maybe that are, you know, within people's budgets or means that you would suggest giving, like peanut butter, like jelly? Any ideas there?
Yeah, peanut butter is a key item because it's so versatile, so we would always love to have more of that. I think looking at items like dried beans and lentils, those are great ways to stretch a meal. And so I remember growing up, we had beans one day a week, and so that was something that we had during the summer as a kid in the South. I think just picking up a 5-pound bag of northern beans can go a long way for a family, and they're very inexpensive.
Absolutely. A great source of protein as well. What would you say is your biggest need as far as food donations? Because I know people are watching this and they want to help out.
Well, thank you for those who are watching. Your viewers are always extremely generous when we have an all-call, and I think proteins are the highest item we have right now. Formula is still in short supply, baby formula, and there are many stores that still have limits where you can buy 2 or 3 items. And so if you see an opportunity to buy a couple of cans of formula, drop them off at one of our locations in Memphis or at your local Catholic Charities. I promise they have a shortage just like we do in formula. And protein items, peanut butter, canned tuna, chicken, other items that you would use to make a sandwich, those are always welcome and have a great shelf life.
And Kelly, we probably have about maybe a minute left or so, but I want to give you the final word. And also, I'm curious, what concerns you the most right now with what you're seeing?
I think what really concerns me right now is we have so many families with children particularly, as well as seniors, who were caught really without a plan B. The rise in fuel prices, the rise in grocery store prices has been a tremendous pressure point on their already thin lives and what they're trying to accomplish. And so find a place to give back. Serve in a drive-through food pantry, serve in a community kitchen. We need solidarity now more than ever. And I think neighbors serving neighbors, there's a lot of power and hope that can help people find what they need to get over this tough time, because we will get through it. But we need to try to get through it together.
Absolutely. And one more time, we have just a little bit of time left. Do you want to give another plug where people can help out?
Absolutely. If you'd like to help us out here at Catholic Charities of West Tennessee, you can reach us at ccwtn.org, ccwtn.org, or find a local Catholic Charities in your community. There's 167 different Catholic Charities across the country, and we could all use your help today.
Absolutely. Kelly, thank you so much for your time today, and thank you for all that you do. God bless you.
You too, Tracy.
And we thank you for watching tonight. For the entire EWTN News Nightly team, I'm Tracy Sable. Good night and God bless.